Hi, I'm Amy Romeo. Welcome to my 12 Days of Christmas Crafts event where I'm sharing a brand new holiday faux leather craft for your Cricut every day for 12 days. Today's project is these really cute Christmas cowboy boot earrings. I have 3 different designs for you, and I'll show you how to get the SVG files for this project in just a moment. But first, let's talk about the tools and materials we'll be using. So these have faux leather on the bottom as the bottom layer, and then they have heat transfer vinyl layered and pressed on top. You could also use permanent vinyl if you'd like. And I'm cutting my faux leather for this project with my Cricut Maker, but you don't need a Cricut Maker to cut faux leather. You can cut this project with any of the current Cricut machines, including the Cricut Joy, because they all come standard with that regular fine point blade. Now the faux leather that I'm using, this happens to be in sheets, but faux leather also comes on rolls. And I have some solids here in sort of pastel Christmas colors. And then this is really fun. This is a glossy glitter faux leather. So it's glittery and shiny, but very smooth. So it's easy to apply heat transfer vinyl to. And I'll leave links to all of these materials for you in the description. Now, to press the heat transfer vinyl onto the faux leather, I like to use my Easy Press Mini because it's very handy and easy to move, but you could also use a larger heat press or even a traditional heat press if that's what you have on hand. For the Mini, I like to use a heat pressing pad to protect my surface, and then a cover sheet of some kind. This is a Teflon sheet that I've trimmed down to size, but you could use butcher paper or parchment paper. To cut the faux leather, we'll be using the purple strong grip cutting mat for the Cricut, but if you don't have one, you can use a really good sticky green mat also. You'll want some blue painter's tape to help us get good cuts with that purple strong grip mat. I have some flat nose jewelry making pliers that I'll be using, and then we just need some 6mm jump rings and some regular earring hooks to finish off the earrings. It's always good to have a weeding tool and some scissors on hand as well. Okay, so let me show you how to get the SVG files for this project, and then we will get started. To get the SVG files for this project, visit amyromeo.com/Christmas24, or you could upgrade to the event VIP pass, where you'll get instant access to all the event projects and tutorials, plus a workbook, some bonuses, and more. Starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, you'll click on Upload, and then Upload Image, and you'll browse to where the already unzipped SVG files for this project are stored on your device. I have them in 3 separate files, so we'll just click on one to select it and then click Open. And you'll see a preview of the shapes. Click Continue and then Upload. Now I'm going to just go back quickly and grab the other 2 so I can show you all 3 on the canvas at the same time. And I separated these onto 3 different files for you, just so it doesn't slow down your design space when you're pulling these in, because these are complex little shapes. So we've got our 3 different designs here, and all 3 of them are going to be made in the exact same way. The bottom layer that you see with the little heel, that's going to cut from faux leather, and then the other shapes are going to be pressed on with heat transfer vinyl. Now both of these, ones that are in pink here on the bottom, you can use any colors you'd like. These have 3 layers in total, 1 faux leather and 2 vinyl, and then this one up here has 4 layers, but they're all made the exact same way. So we have a with pre-cut holes version that I've created for you and a without, and I always like to give you both in case you wanted to change the size of the earrings, a lot bigger or a lot smaller. That would change your earring size hole. So in that case, you would need to create your own hole, either with a hole punch, a hand hole punch, or by creating your own holes in Design Space, and I'll link to a video on how to do that. But if you're going to use this project as I've designed it, which I recommend at this size, then you can just go ahead and use the with holes version. Now what I'm going to do is delete some of these off of my canvas, since I won't be cutting all 3 pair today. I'm going to cut 1 and you will get the idea. So let me just expand this out here on the layers panel so you can see the different layers. So first thing I want to do is ungroup this pair so I can delete the version I won't be cutting. And then here we can see our little layers. In your download folder, I'll also include what's called a layering guide, so you'll be able to see what order to press these in. So on the layering guide, you'll see that first you're going to have the little boot faux leather shape at the bottom. Then you'll press this layer, and then you'll press the snowflake last. So again, you can use any colors you'd like, but I'm going to cut these colors for you in the demonstration today. Go ahead and click the Make It button. We're cutting our materials on a mat. And the first thing you want to do is go through and mirror each of your mats here on the left-hand side. I like to do that before I forget. And we mirror the mats because faux leather and heat transfer vinyl cut in reverse. Now, if you're using permanent vinyl for this project instead of heat transfer vinyl, then you would only mirror the faux leather mat and not the heat transfer vinyl mats. So the next thing I like to do is go through and drag my shapes apart from each other just a little bit. And this helps especially on the faux leather layer here because we will be putting some blue painter's tape down on all sides. So I just like to have a little bit of extra space when I'm doing that. These as well, I'd like to separate out my little heat transfer vinyl shapes, separate them from each other and away from the edges. While I'm doing this, I'm also making a note of what size material I'll need to put on my mat to cut my shapes completely out. This is a great scrap project, so it's fun to be able to go through the scraps and look for something that's the right size that will work. So I'm going to click back on the faux leather layer first. Looks like I need a piece of red glitter faux leather about 4 inches wide and a little over 2 inches tall. So I'll click continue. For the faux leather mat, I'll use the faux leather paper thin setting. If you don't have this setting bookmarked as a favorite like I do, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. Keep in mind, if you're using the Explore Air 2 machine, you'll need to turn your dial to custom before you can find this setting when you search. So faux leather paper thin, I always choose more pressure when cutting faux leather. That helps us get a better cut. And this is a reminder that we're just using the regular fine point blade that comes standard on all the Cricut machines. Now for the 2 vinyl layers, I recommend using the manufacturer's recommended cut setting for your particular heat transfer vinyl. Okay, let's hop back over to my overhead camera. We'll get our mats cut out and our earrings assembled. So I've gone ahead and trimmed my faux leather down to that size that I saw in the mat preview screen. Hope you can see that glitter. It's really cute, very fun and glossy. And then I've also trimmed my heat transfer vinyl pieces down to that size that both shapes will cut out as well. So the first thing I want to do is take my faux leather, put it pretty side down on my purple strong grip mat. And as I do that, I wanted to mention, if you're new to making earrings, a question I get asked a lot is, what do you put on the back? And my favorite technique is to apply heat transfer vinyl to the back of your faux leather before you cut it. That way when the Cricut cuts the shape, it cuts through both layers at once. I have a whole video on how to do that and I will link to that for you. But for now, I'm going to put this pretty side down on my mat. Press it well with your fingers to get it to stick down. And then I'm going to use some blue painter's tape and just tape it down on all sides. The blue painter's tape helps keep our material from shifting while it's cutting, and it can be peeled up and reused several times. It's also great because it won't leave a residue on your faux leather or on your mat. So we have our faux leather paper thin cut setting with more pressure ready to go. So we'll just load the mat into the Cricut and begin the cut. So the cut has run one time, and I always like to use a sharp weeding tool to check the cut and make sure it went all the way through before I unload the mat, because I can repeat the cut as many times as I need to just by pressing that cut button, as long as I haven't unloaded the mat. So this is a really small shape with a small little cutout hole. I'm just going to run the cut again, and just to make sure that everything cut out completely. Okay, so our cut has gone through twice. I'm going to unload the mat and remove my little shapes. And it might be hard to see. Usually on the back you can see a little better where that little pre-cut hole is. Now if the Cricut didn't cut the hole all the way through, don't worry, we can use a 1/16 inch hole punch. It's the perfect little size to be able to punch through those earring holes. But what I'm going to do is wait on punching the holes until I apply this top layer, this pink layer, because that has a pre-cut hole in the vinyl, and that's going to show us exactly where to punch our hole on the faux leather. So let's just remove our shapes for now. If there's any little fuzzies on the edges of your faux leather, you can just use some small curved scissors and trim up those edges. Now I'm going to return to Design Space and cut out my 2 heat transfer vinyl mats for this project. So I finished cutting both of my heat transfer vinyl mats. I've weeded away the excess vinyl, and I'm just cutting the 2 little shapes apart from each other. Now I'm going to take a moment and get my heat pressing pad set up, my Easy Press Mini warmed up, and then we will press and make our earrings. So I have my Easy Press Mini set to the low setting. It's that bottom green line. If you're using a regular Easy Press, I would set it to about 265 degrees. And I have all of my little layers here on my heat pressing pad, and I have my little pink layer here, and that has that pre-cut hole that's going to help us know exactly where to punch through our hole punch if the little boots didn't cut the hole all the way through. So I'm just going to take my first layer here and line it up, and when you line these up on the boot, you want to make sure that a little bit of the underneath layer, the faux leather layer, shows through, and that creates the little sole part of the boot. So here we have the heel popping through, and then a little outline of that bottom color. And then if you line this up at the top, that sort of arc, then you'll be good to go. So I'm just going to cover this with my little cover sheet and press for about 7 to 10 seconds. Now with the glossy glitter, I recommend letting your heat transfer vinyl cool a little bit before we try and peel. So I'm going to go ahead and press the other one before I peel the first one. There we go. So now I'm going to carefully try and peel this clear carrier sheet for the vinyl. If it lifts up, which I see it's doing here, I'm just going to place that little clear sheet right back down, and we'll press some more. I'll try pulling from the other side. There we go. That looks cute. So on this one, you also have the contrast of the matte color of the vinyl with the glossy glitter texture, which is really fun. The glossy glitter comes in a lot of different colors, and I will link to that for you. It's a very fun product because cutting chunky glitter faux leather can be a little bit challenging, although I have a video on all of my best tips and tricks on how to do that, and I'll link to that for you. So now we're going to add our little snowflakes, and I'm just going to place those. I like to place them both at the same time so that I make sure I have them lined up nice and evenly. There we go. I can even press these at the same time if I'd like. Super cute. Again, we'll just peel away that clear carrier sheet. Always go slowly, so if you need to put it right back down, you can. Gonna let this cool for just a minute. And there we go, super cute. So these faux leather little shapes are warm, so I always like to put them underneath my heat pressing pad to let them cool completely in a nice flat position. But we'll pretend I did that, and I'm going to move on and we'll punch our holes and attach the earring hooks. So this little 1/16 inch hole punch has that very small little hole there, and it really is the perfect size for punching through faux leather. This can punch through 2 layers of faux leather actually. It's really a paper punch, but it's about $10 on Amazon. I'll link to it for you because this is very handy to have. I'm just lining up where that hole is with the little hole that's in the vinyl. Let's pop it through. Super cute. And I'll repeat on this one. And there we go, perfect. So now it's time to attach the earring hooks. And I have 2 earring hooks, and I have 2 6mm jump rings. Now these earring hooks, they come with the loop facing parallel to the hook. So here's the hook, here's the loop. I always take that little loop and I turn it with pliers 90 degrees so that it is facing forward. Do you see the difference there? And that's going to help our earring hang straight. I have a whole video on this technique that I will link to for you. But I've already turned my little loops. All I'm going to do is open up my 6mm jump rings. Attach my little boot earring attach the earring hook and then close that right back up. So here are the finished earrings, and here's a look at all three of the little cowboy boot earrings together. I hope you enjoy this project, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.